Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this braided cabochon wirework ring, and this is what mine looks like here with the materials that I've used. So you can see we have the cabochon there. I've chosen to use this druzy one. I think it's really beautiful, and then the wirework braid goes around and captures that in place, but also we have a braid for the ring band, and actually it's all connected, made from the same lengths of wire, and it looks like this on. So it's really a nice look it gives there. You get that look from the cabochon, but then also that braid with the wire going around it and the ring band as well, but it's also in there really nice and securely. And you can use this technique, obviously different sizes of rings, but also different sizes and shapes of the cabochon. So it really depends how you want yours to look, but if you want to learn how to make this, then keep watching. So then we need our materials here, and what I have here first of all is my wire, and this is a regular round 0.6mm copper wire that I'm using. And to go with this, obviously we'll need the cabochon. So this specific cabochon here is a druzy quartz, just coated in this beautiful white rainbow colour, and it measures 2 by 1.5 centimeters. So you can see it's an oval shape, but really it doesn't have to be this size or shape. You can use this technique for other sizes, smaller or larger, and shapes as well. So obviously just customize it to that as you go. So let's get all the materials together and let's get started. So then what we need to do here is cut our wire, and what I have is 5 lengths of about 50 centimeters each, and we're going to use these throughout the holes, both for the ring band and also to capture the cabochon. And I then took my lengths of wire here and I've attached some electrical tape around it, making sure the wires lie flat next to each other like that. And then just put that around nicely, so it's going to hold them together while we start out the braid. Obviously otherwise all the wires are loose and it's going to be a bit difficult. And what I've done is I've gone from one end of the wires, put them together there, and then gone down about 20 centimeters, and then that's where I attached the tape. Because then we're going to start braiding from underneath here with the long lengths, because we're going to be braiding across the middle of these wires here. And also just make sure that your wires are nice and smoothed out so you don't have any obvious kinks, because obviously we don't want that to end up within the braid. So to then start making the braid here, it's going to be basically a regular 5-strand braid we're going to be doing, but obviously the difference is we're working with wire, so it's going to be a bit different than say working with cord or even hair. So what we're going to be doing is, first of all, I just want to separate them a little bit into 2 groups. So just kind of pull them a bit apart from each other. So I've got 3 on one side and 2 on the other, and it doesn't matter which side you got what, just the side you're going to start braiding from is the one with 3 lengths in it. And then all I'm going to do is take the very outer one, in my case on the right side here, the one that has 3, and then we need to bring that in towards the middle, so it needs to go over the first one, next to it, and then under the second one. So it just goes over and under, and then that ends up in the middle. And the very first 1 or 2 stitches, you could say, won't necessarily be the neatest, because obviously up here it's just the tape we have, but we can always undo a little bit or kind of just fix that at the end. But then bringing that over and into the middle, we now have 3 on the opposite side. So then I know I need to take my length from there, so I take the outer one and then bring that again in towards the middle, over the first one and under the second one. And then that becomes a new middle one, just like that. And then basically you just want to continue going like this. So again, the other side now, the outer one goes over and under. And what's really about here is finding your rhythm with making the braid here with the wire, because like I said, it's quite different using the wire in towards the middle. And also it's really up to you how you want your braid to look, so if you want it quite tight or if you want it quite loose. It's completely up to you, and that always depends how you're then going to be making the braid. So there we go, it's starting to form a little bit now. So again, take the outer one on the opposite side, over and then under and in towards the middle. So what I personally like to do as I'm making my braids here with the wire is keep an eye on it throughout as I go, and see if I'm happy with the little section and area that I'm currently working on, because what I can then do, if I'm not quite happy with it, I can adjust it while we're here working on it, rather than not do it and then see it later on not being quite happy with it. Then you can't really do anything about it. So just keep an eye on it throughout, making sure that you're happy with how the braid looks. and really get it as tight as you want really. The outer one goes over and in towards the middle. And what I also like to do is when I'm moving my wire, I kind of tend to hold my fingers on my braid and the bottom part, the open part of it really. It just helps hold everything else that you don't want to move that's already in the braid, hold that in place while you're then moving the wire that you need to move. So you don't pull anything out of shape in the braid by moving the wire that we need to bring into the middle. Otherwise you just keep going like this. What I also just want to mention here is as you keep going, one way to help control your braid as well, I'm going to take the outer one and bring it into the middle again, is by, like I said, continue to keep an eye on it throughout as you're making it, but also as I'm doing that, you can control your braid by, I kind of like to push on the sides a little bit, so to help keep it consistent, I get a consistent thickness, and also helps with the actual braid structure itself and makes it more consistent looking throughout. So as I'm then doing another stitch here, bring the outer one into the middle, and then it does tend to want to get wider naturally, but I like to control that by then just going back a little bit and making sure this area that I've just done gets kind of equal to the previous, and by just gently pressing it against each other there, the sides, you help control the width and make it more consistent throughout. And you can also then help get a more consistent braid in general by doing that. So it's just a little tip to help get the braid a bit more even and obviously control exactly how you want it to look. So I then reached the full length here that I need for the braid for the ring band. Now how long you need yours to be will depend on what size you need the ring to be. So one way to kind of figure that out is as you go making this, because ideally you want to stop at the right size, you don't want to make too much and then have to undo it. So what I would recommend is, if you have a ring mandrel, obviously use that. If you have something the size and the shape, then just use that. And then I like to take just a scrap piece of cord here, and then bring this around the size that I want it to be. So you get the length, and this will just give you a nice guide, and you can obviously hold that up against your braid as you go, and then you can know when you need to stop braiding. But then what I've also made sure to do is when you end the braid, on this end here where I started, you can see we have, because it's 5 lengths we're working with, we have 3 lengths on one side and 2 on the other. So where I end, I want to end in the opposite way. So I want to have 3 lengths to the opposite side that they are in the beginning there. So they're going to fit nicely together, and we're going to obviously bring the 2 ends together to form the ring band. And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to bring my ring mandrel back in here, because I'm going to shape it around this. And then we need to just, I'm going to place this behind it, and then just form it around the ring mandrel. So obviously we're bringing the 2 ends together. And then what we need to do is kind of intertwine our wires up here. So what I'm going to do is make sure I start on one side. It doesn't really matter where you start from. I'm going to have one wire on the outside, that's from one side of the ring band. Then I'm going to bring the next wire from the other side after that, and then the next wire after that is coming from the first side again. Then I'm bringing the one from the opposite side and bringing them together, and that's basically the one side there. And then I want to make sure to bring, the last one I have is from this side here, so I want to bring the one from the opposite side, and on this side we also want to intertwine them. So that's basically what we're doing, intertwining the wires. So you could say kind of putting your fingers together like that. It's exactly what we want to do with the wires on here. And then once we have them all in the right place, we can then obviously bring the ends even more together to make sure the ends go kind of nice and tight together here. So just bring them all the way, and always make sure it has the size that you want it to have. And this is going to basically be the ring band. So just bring them together nicely like this. And then what we need to do now is start braiding again. So just make sure your wires are separated out here in the right position. So I'm going to then just take this back off again, because we have the basic shape in place now. And we then want to start with one side at a time. So I'm just going to pick it up and work on one side here. And we're back to having those 5 lengths that we were making the braid with before. So what you just want to do is make sure to kind of pull this tight and hold it in place while we start out the braid. And it's the exact same thing as before. So we have them separated here. I have 3 lengths on one side, and that's the one I'm going to start with. So make sure I just have them close together, pull tight here, and then just bring the outer one on the side with 3 lengths over the next one, and under the next one after that, and into the middle. And then just, the beginning here is kind of most important, just to get it all locked into place, because we want to make sure that the ring band doesn't open up and then we start braiding too much. That's why I say hold it tight there, just in the beginning as we're braiding, until the wires are then kind of locked into place. And then take from the other side here, the outer one goes over and under, and new one into the middle. And you just want to keep braiding like this. It can be a little bit fiddly now because obviously we're trying to hold the ring band in place. You just take your time and continue to make sure that the ring band is pushed together there, so we have the right size and it doesn't end up larger than we want it to be. But then we want to keep braiding here for a little bit, and then do it on this side, and then all you do when you've done a little length there, flip it around and then do the exact same thing on the other side as well. So we want a decent length here on each side, because that's what's going to then get used to wrap around and capture the cabochon. And this is then what it looks like once I've made both braids there, the one on each side. And again, how long these need to be really depends on the materials that you use. So especially also the cabochon, how large it is, but also how thick it is. So you're really going to have to try, because you can always add a bit to the braids if you find out they're not quite long enough when you're trying with the cabochon, or you can always undo them a little bit. But then when we have this in place, so obviously we have the ring band that's braided, now we have the 2 braids going in their own direction, then it's these braids here that we're going to now use to capture the cabochon with. So I then take my cabochon here, bring that in. Now this part can also be a little bit fiddly because everything is obviously still loose, because that's what we want to do now, is capture it in place. But then what I want to do is place this on top, right in the middle there, of the 2 braids going out to the side, so on top of the ring band you could say, where we joined the 2 ends together. And then I like to just put a finger through the ring band as well to hold it from underneath, to kind of try and help stabilize it. And I want to try and make sure that I keep the cabochon sitting just how I want it to end up sitting. But obviously you can move around a little bit, but just keep an eye on it throughout as we're doing this. Then I'm going to start with 1 braid at a time on one side here. I'm going to start bringing this around, making sure it stays in the middle. Bring it up the side of the cabochon a little bit. And then while you're there, you can do that a little bit on the other side as well. That'll help hold it a little bit more in place. So, like that. And then we need to start bringing them around the side here. So I'm just going to take this one first of all, and then bring it out to the side, and kind of start following the shape of the cabochon. So around one end, and then all the way around to the opposite side as well. And you can just do a little at a time. So I'm going to leave it there, turn it around, because then I'm going to start working on the other side a little bit, because I find that a little bit better to kind of try and keep it equal, and making sure obviously the cabochon stays where I want it to, instead of that moving around too much, because you can kind of push the cabochon because it's loose as you're moving the braids, and obviously that'll kind of end up in the wrong place then. But you can adjust it as we go, that's what we want to make sure to do. So push this up as well, bring it around the side and over to the opposite side of where it's coming from. And then it's starting to get the effect of how it's going to be captured there. And I want to then also keep double checking here if it looks like the cabochon stays in the place where I want it to, so it stays in the middle there and sitting in the right direction. And then we can keep adjusting these braids until we are completely happy with it. Bringing it all the way around to the other side, and the same thing with the first side again. So just keep flopping back and forth and bring it all the way around. So something a bit like that. And you can see as these braids now are going to sit like this, capturing the cabochon from this side here all the way straight along the side on the opposite side of where they're coming from as well. Also to try and get it nice and uniform, but obviously secure as well. So just like that. So that's basically how the cabochon is going to be captured. But obviously we need to fasten this in place. And right now also the cabochon can still fall out because it's very loose. But what I also want to do is fix the underneath of it, because even though it will probably stay, I would like to just secure the underside of the cabochon so it can't kind of push out through one of the sides on the bottom there. I want to make sure that's not going to happen. So again, just double check. So we just need to push it a little bit more to one side. Make sure it's nice and even. It'll be worth looking a bit from the bottom as well. So I want the, you can see here as well, and then reference it to the ring band that's kind of coming straight across, and a fairly even part of the cabochon is then showing on both sides there. And that's basically how I want it to be, so I'm quite happy with that. Then what I want to do before I finish anything off, I want to start, like I said, capturing the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is take some chain nose pliers, and what you're going to see is on the braid, the very bottom side of it, you're going to have one side of the braid where your wires are coming out and back into the braid, and you kind of have not little loops but little curves coming out from the braid, and it's the very bottom ones here that I want to just grab. That's why you also want to make sure the braid is sat nicely against the cabochon, and it's kind of just coming out a little bit below the bottom of the cabochon there. And then you just grab one of those little loops, you could say, grab onto that with the chain nose pliers, and then pull it inwards a little bit. And then do the same thing with the next one over. So just do this on a few of them, and pull it inwards a bit. Back to the first one as well. And it's just going to add that little bit extra security on the bottom here, so the cabochon can't fall out through the bottom. Same thing with the other side. Grab one and just pull it inwards a bit. So it's just basically the side of the braid where the little curves on the side, we're pulling them inwards there. So it's going to capture that bottom part nicely. So now that I'm happy with how that's positioned, what there's left to do now is really finish off, obviously the wires, but also completely secure this in place. And also I want to try and make it nice and seamless as much as we can. So make sure the braids are going all the way around the side here. And then now it's a little bit figuring this out as you go and see what you think fits nicely on yours, because it might be different. So just kind of judge it as you go. I'm just going to separate my braid out again here. That one goes that way. So I now have all these ready. And what I then want to do is start using these ends of the open braid to attach and secure it in place. So how I'm going to do that is, the bottom ones here are going to get attached down by the ring band, but these ones up here, I just want to actually get them in through the beginning part of the braid on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is take the outer one first of all here, and I want to press it against and just see where I think it would fit nicely. So I'm going to bring it through the braid here on the other side, wherever you think it will fit. So you can either follow another, you could say, length on that braid. Let me just see again. Or you can just get in and out between that braid there, because it will kind of blend in nicely. Again, it can be a little bit fiddly, so obviously we're still holding everything in place. It's not where I want it to go in. I want it to come out right there. And then pull this through. Now you're going to have to do this a bit carefully, because obviously you can see here, otherwise it would want to kind of almost kink a bit, you could say. So just keep pulling it gently. So something like that. So then you can see that that part here is going to sit and basically make it so it blends in. So the end of this braid is almost going to blend in with the beginning of the other one, and it's going to look like it's almost a continuous braid around it. And then obviously you want to just do the same thing with the other ones. So just take one length at a time here, and then figure out where in your braid you think it will fit nicely and look as seamless as possible, and just get it in through the braid. And then what we're going to do is work our way with these lengths. So I just want to put this through here. as you can see, kind of have to just work with it a little bit. But we need to work our way downwards towards the bottom part of, you could say, the cabochon, because that's where then we're going to end up finishing it off. So again, just go through where you want this to go through. So just play around with this a little bit. Once I then get those two lengths in place, then obviously I have the other ones left as well, and it's just the same principle really. You just want to find where they're coming out from the braid that will come in from with them, and then you want to work your way down through wherever you think it's suitable. So for instance, this one here, I also want to get that into the other braid, and I think it will fit nicely just there, going through in between the braid on the other side, and then pulling that all the way through as well. Again, obviously gently here, to avoid getting a kink like that, because obviously that won't pull through properly. So it's just working with it gently, and then get that all the way out to the side as well. And then as long as you're making the braid here, getting your wires in between, just as well keep an eye on your braid along the side. And the other ones, they're pretty much close to the bottom anyway, so this is also where we can start looking at where we want to finish them off. So for instance, that one down here, it's already down towards the bottom, so there's not really much to go through on the side. So what you want to do is then figure out where you want to finish it off. And like I said, I want to get them all as close to the bottom here as possible. And I have still the other braid coming across the bottom right there. So I'm just going to go through there with the wire. And then this is also the point where I actually would want to finish it off, because it's already then on the bottom. And I don't need to do anything more with this. Just again making sure I pull it through properly. Getting that all the way down, because then the reason that I want to try and get them all towards the bottom here is so when I finish them off, the ends of the wire isn't going to be too obvious on the side of the piece here or towards the front and add too much bulk as well. And obviously we also want to make sure it's not going to irritate the skin, but if you just finish it off down here in amongst the other braid but underneath, it will work out fine. So you just keep working your way down towards the bottom there, and obviously with this other side here you want to do the exact same thing. So separate them out, and then start incorporating this end of the braid into the beginning of the other one in the exact same way, just making your way through wherever you think it's going to look nice and kind of blend in nicely. Again, get it towards the bottom here, and then once all the wires are in the position where you'd want to finish them off, then I'll show you how we do that. So now I attach both sides here. I just want to show you how I also get rid of the wires. So as you can see, we have a lot of wires just kind of coming out, almost a bit like tentacles. And then what I want to do is, I'm just going to go through one at a time and finish them off. That's the best way I find. So just kind of pick one out that you can get to first. So I'm going to choose one here where you can hopefully see it well. So I've got one coming, and like I said, I've got them all towards the bottom of the cabochon, you could say. It's just to hide this as much as possible, so we don't get the ends there on sides or anything. And then what I want to do is, this length is coming underneath one of these loops, you could say, or curves of the braid, but it's on the underside. So what I want to do is finish this off by having this longer tail wrapping around something in the braid or in the ring band somewhere down here or something, where you feel that's going to fit and where it's going to be secure. So I'm going to bring it around as much as I can, and then I'm going to go in and cut off the excess here. But what I want to do is leave about 1 or 2 millimeters from where it's wrapping around. So just make sure I just cut that bit. So just like this, cut off the excess. Then I take my chain nose pliers again, and then what we have from cutting it off, we have a little end sticking out, but also what I'm then going to use that end for is to kind of continue the wrap around. So get in wherever you can get in with your pliers. So squeeze that down further, and then also I like to, just going to get it in position here, squeeze it down and then roll the pliers a little bit in the direction, the same direction as the wire is wrapping in. So just squeeze it down. Gonna get a proper grip here. And then when I feel like it's squeezed down pretty nicely, just to make sure the end is tucked in properly, I'm just giving it a gentle little roll with my wrist there in that direction. And that just finishes off the wrap nicely. But also we're not adding too much bulk to the ends where we're finishing them off, because we're just wrapping around that nicely and gently once. And it's secure enough because there's going to be so many wires that we'll finish off that they all add to the security. So this will be sufficient. And obviously just keep doing that all the way around. Take one end at a time, like I said. And also some of them I have coming closer, right into where basically the braids are starting from the ring bend. That's also a great place because it's going to really add stability. So just keep going like that, taking one wire at a time, finishing them off in this way, just wrapping it around gently, finishing off the end. And then once you've done all that, obviously gotten rid of all these little tentacles, then the ring will be done and you'll have your nice captured cabochon in the braid. So here's then the finished ring after I finished off all the ends of the wire there from the braids. And then this is what it looks like. So you have your braid, kind of looks like it's going all the way around the cabochon, capturing that, but it's actually connected there to the ring band, which is also a braid. So it's nice and consistent as well, the design, and it's also captured in there really nice and securely, because obviously we captured it on the bottom there by just bringing in those little loops. So that's what it looks like. And then it's just ready to wear as well, and it'll sit nicely like that. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial here for this braided cabochon ring, and thank you very much for watching.